So we felt it was an opportunity to take two mid-tier producers, put them together, create a senior Americas-focused gold producer, and that really putting these companies together would add more value for shareholders than either of these companies could do on a standalone basis.
Hello and welcome to the Assay TV. I am on site at 121 Mining Investment London and we are at the start of our day 2. I am joined by Rhylin Bailie, VP of Investor Relations at Equinox Gold Corp. So welcome.
Thanks.
So let's start with a brief overview of the company and your key projects.
Yeah, so we were formed at the end of 2017 with the vision of creating a premier America's gold producer. We've done a lot of growth over the last 7 years. We acquired one asset, 2 companies, and we expect to produce around 700,000 ounces of gold this year with projects in Canada, the United States, Mexico, and Brazil.
So you've had some really big news recently with the merger with Calibre Mining. Can you explain the rationale behind the deal and what it means for your shareholders?
Well, Calibre and Equinox Gold are both mid-tier gold producers. We just built a new big mine in Ontario, Canada that we put into production last year. Calibre's also building a mine in Canada, in Newfoundland, and we thought if we put those two big Canadian mines together at the beginning of their mine lives, that we would create a lot of value because Canadian producers tend to trade at a premium in the market. So with both of those mines in production, we'll have about 600,000 ounces of gold production coming just from Canada. It will make us the second largest producer of gold in Canada. And then Calibre has producing assets in Nicaragua, so our shareholders get an immediate 250,000 ounce bump to production at all-time high gold prices, which is obviously very valuable. Calibre shareholders get an immediate 700,000 ounce to production from our assets, plus all the growth that's built into both of those portfolios. So we felt it was an opportunity to take two mid-tier producers, put them together, create a senior Americas-focused gold producer, and that really putting these companies together would add more value for shareholders than either of these companies could do on a standalone basis.
So as you mentioned, you have a pipeline of production assets across the Americas, as we just talked about. What is the latest from your flagship Greenstone mine? And where is the biggest upside right now at that point?
Yeah, so we built Greenstone over about 2.5 years, poured first gold in May 2024, announced commercial production in November 2024. Now we're ramping it up to capacity. It's a big mine. It's going to be 27,000 tons per day. It'll produce about 400,000 ounces of gold when it's fully ramped up to capacity. Right now we're just in that ramp up phase. So the biggest upside, I think, is achieving that full capacity at Greenstone. Our guidance for this year is 300 to 350,000 ounces, but as it moves, quarter over quarter, we should see that production increasing, see the cash flow increasing, and then having that full run rate of 400,000 ounces next year.
So just quickly going back to the Calibre transaction, and once that closes, how would this affect your portfolio and the market perception of you?
Well, immediate production bumps for both of us. And when we started the company, our chairman, Ross Beatty, said we want to build a big gold company quickly because his thesis was that gold prices are going to start to rise. So at the end of 2017, it was around maybe 1,300 gold. Now we're at 3,300 gold. So Ross obviously had good insight into what the gold market was going to do. So maximizing production, with these two big companies together, we should have around 950,000 ounces of production this year by combining them, well over 1 million ounces next year. So just being able to crystallize production with those high gold prices. And also, again, by having these two big Canadian mines together, more than 50% of our production will be coming from Canada. And Canadian producers tend to trade at a premium in the market. So we're hoping we'll get an immediate valuation increase by virtue of that Canadian production. And then all of the other benefits that come by being a bigger company with more cash flow, more liquidity, all of that should make us more interesting to those elite investors as well.
So you're in a very strong position. So looking ahead, what milestones should our investors be looking out for?
Well, the first milestone, of course, is going to be closing the Calibre transaction. We got shareholder approval on May 1st. There's a number of regulatory approvals that we need to get, but we're hoping it will close sometime before the end of the second quarter. And then, of course, achieving production at Valentine. So it's still finishing up the last bits of construction, but it should be pouring gold in Q3 of this year. So that will be an important milestone. And then seeing both of those Canadian assets ramp up to full capacity.
So thanks again for joining me and enjoy the rest of our event.
Thank you.
Thanks.